This first one is from our buddy John Kerry. Speaking this week to a gathering of the World Economic Forum, shocker, I want you to listen very closely to what John Kerry is telling you they want to accomplish.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact have kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree.
So you heard that, right? This is the former Secretary of State, an American diplomat, a very prominent politician, and a very forward-facing figure of the Democrat Party in the United States today, telling the World Economic Forum, we in positions of power, the proverbial they, have anguish over social media platforms, over shows like this one, because it doesn't allow us to build consensus the same way we've traditionally built consensus in America in the past. The referees, his word, not mine, that we previously had in determining facts have been eviscerated. Because in your pocket, the average person can pick and choose who they listen to and what sources they seek out. So we can't referee, aka censor, what we want to censor to build consensus.
And people go and then people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick, and, has an agenda, and they're putting out disinformation.
Ironic, I would say.
Our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So,
our First Amendment, and I quote, stands as a major block to our ability to just hammer it out of existence. It being what the government, what the entrenched bureaucrats, what the elite deem to be misinformation. Do you believe me now? There have been people warning you about this for years. And everyone said, that's insane. Sure, they might want more regulation. Sure, they might want more control. Sure, they might want more government. But they could never just get rid of the Constitution. In order for us to build consensus, we have to consider curbing this problem of social media, said by John Kerry himself. But the First Amendment stands as a major roadblock in our journey to get there.
What we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change.
We need to win enough votes, we meaning the elite. But I'm not even going to glorify this as just saying the Democrat Party or the left. He's saying the government. And this is part of the reason I changed my registration to be an independent several months ago. But the same people who are all in bed with one another, sometimes literally, because Washington is just so lovely and ironic that way. That's a tangent we're not going to go on right now. The same people who are all in bed together, who have been for longer than twice the time we've been alive, they need to win the ground. They need to win, in his words, the right to govern so that they can effectuate change. Change of what? Getting rid of our roadblocks, eviscerating your constitutional right to seek out whatever information you want, free from the referees of the government, to eviscerate the First Amendment. Are they even interested in doing democracy anymore? The World Economic Forum asks John Kerry. Listen very carefully to what he has to say.
Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways.
AKA Kamala Harris is prepared to implement that change.
And
so
that's
you're
really
questioning
dangerous.
really if democracy can survive unregulated social media.
I think democracies are very challenged right now and have not proven they can move fast enough or big enough to deal with the challenges that we are facing.
Democracies are our very challenge right now. And democracies have not yet proven that they can move fast enough and big enough to deal with the challenges that we are facing right now. Says the freaking party screaming at you at the top of their lungs that democracy is on the ballot, that democracy is at stake with who you vote for, that in order to preserve democracy, you only have one choice: to vote in the left. When it is the left telling you out loud, yeah, we said democracy is on the ballot, we're blaming it on the other guy, but we mean it. Democracies aren't quick or big enough to handle the problems we're facing right now, to silence and censor ordinary people, to shut them up so that we can keep determining what are facts and what is fiction, so that we can be the referee on building consensus for the values of a society, not the people, we, the government. Democracies are not yet proven, says John Kerry. Okay?
And to me, that is part of what this race, this election is all about.
And that is what this election is all about. Continue going down the path of democracy or eviscerate it in the name of stopping misinformation and getting rid of the roadblocks to be the referee of what is true and what is not. Don't take it from me. Don't shoot the messenger. But I'm just telling you, the quiet part is getting louder and louder and louder the closer we get to Election Day. And this should royally piss you off. But it's not just John Kerry, who, yes, is a major figure in Democrat politics. He's a classic 80-year-old who's run for president like more times than I can possibly remember. He was the Secretary of State. He's been in politics and diplomacy for forever, like longer than anyone can even begin to remember. This is what I mean by the proverbial they. But it's not just politicians who are beginning to make this argument this week. In fact, the proverbial they also includes, who did I say, philanthropists and entrepreneurs who already feel like they have a right to govern and control your life. Bill Gates this week is making headlines for suggesting that perhaps America needs something like an AI program. The world, in fact, needs something like an AI program applied to each and every one of our devices to ban harmful speech. Again, don't take my word for it. Listen to World Economic Forum darling Bill Gates himself, because he will be more than glad to tell you.
You should have free speech, but if you're inciting violence, if you're causing people not to take vaccines, where are those boundaries that even the U.S. should have rules? And then if you have rules, what is it? Is there some AI that encodes those rules because you have billions of activity and, if you catch it a day later, the harm is done?
It's nice to have free speech. It's nice to have free speech, but we need more rules. So essentially, the proverbial they want not only to put stricter guardrails on what they deem to be free speech, which changes by the frickin' minute, apparently, but also want to preemptively prevent anything that crosses those boundaries from ever being publicly shared. And I cannot recommend, if you guys haven't already made prayer a part of your daily routine, downloading the world's largest Christian prayer app, Hallow, Hallow. They have more than 10,000 original prayers, meditations, history podcasts, lifestyle podcasts, mental health resources, everything you can possibly imagine that has totally transformed my prayer life and that of almost every single one of you as well. Hallow is offering you a 3-month free trial to all of the incredible content on their platform. If you go right now to hallow.com/Isabel, HALLOW.com/Isabel. And our friends over at Public Square, America's largest leading marketplace for small businesses that are all pro-family, pro-faith, and pro-freedom, and pro-actual science, by the way, actually got their start out in the beautiful state of California. They are changing how we spend money in America one day at a time, realizing that where we spend our dollars is where culture is going to thrive. If you are looking for businesses to support that share your values, check them out at publicsquare.com. And if you are a business owner of any kind, make sure you add your small business to Public Square to connect with customers who share your values too. I'm so glad, by the way, that there are companies that are trying to get to the actual truth of matters like this and in standing for women in general. Just one of which happens to be my amazing friends over at Garnier. Garnier is the only period product company on the market that insists only women can menstruate. Thank you for that, by the way, Garnier, because we need a whole lot more of that. And their pads, their tampons, and their menstrual cup products are all 100% organic and completely non-toxic. I have noticed a huge change in my cycle since switching to Garnier products, and I cannot begin to recommend them enough to you, especially after we just found out that most leading tampon brands have arsenic and lead in them if you're buying them at Target or the grocery store. You can get a discount on your first order to Garnier if you click the link in the description of this video. And please, please, please embrace the same courage that they are in standing up for real womanhood in 2024 and beyond.